start rolling in. Here we go. It's being recorded. That's always a good sign. Okay, we're letting everyone come in. Welcome, everybody. Super excited to have you all today and this panel. I'm very excited for this panel. I know we've had Kristin before, but we have some new faces on Travefy Academy that I'm really excited for. So this will be a fun time. But first, since we are on time here, I'll just go ahead and get started and just welcome you to this webinar hosted by Travefy Academy. And if this is your first Travefy Academy webinar, I'm Stephanie Grice, and I am Education and Marketing Coordinator here at Travefy. And if this is your first time in a Travefy Academy webinar, just to give you a quick blurb, if you've been on them before, you've heard this. But what we like to do with Travefy Academy is this is just designed to be, free educational resource for you to further, or for us to further Travefy's mission, to power the success of travel professionals. So that's why it's really great that we get to have these types of webinars and bring on these amazing panels and just hopefully help out and provide really good content. And you can find more at academy.travefy.com for other webinars, podcasts, all that good stuff in there. So definitely check that out. And then another thing that I want to mention is that this is really exciting. So normally with Travefy, so Travefy as the product, we don't talk about that in Travefy Academy, but I'm going to take a second to do that because we just launched a little certification program with CLIA that I have to just share because it just launched just weeks ago, and it's really, really exciting. So I will send after this webinar, everybody the link that if you are a CLIA member and you want to take that certification, you can. But just to quickly share what it is about, it's, it'll only take about 1 to 2 hours. It's just, you can learn the ins and outs of Travefy. If you're already a Travefy user, you'll probably blaze through it. You'll probably know a lot. You'll learn some good stuff as well. But then there's 5 lessons and you'll get 3 elective credits for it. So it's kind of a no-brainer if you are a Travefy user, so we just want to push it out there. But we're really excited to be partnering with CLIA on that. So since it's a cruise webinar, had to blast that really quick. But now I'm going to stop sharing my screen here. And I want to just quickly share a couple things too before we dive in with our panel, is that this webinar is being recorded. So if you have to hop off, no worries. We will have the recording available. And then we really hope to get to a Q&A at the end as well. But we'll see if we have time. It just depends. But please do put those questions when you think of them in the questions box. And we also have Scott from my team on the other end. He'll be watching for those. And so hopefully we'll have time at the end to ask our panelists those questions. But with all that being said, I am now excited to share our panelists with you here today and introduce to you all of them. So first, I'm just going to go down the list here. We have John Chernesky, who is Senior Vice President, Sales and Trade Marketing at Princess Cruises. So we're excited to have you.
Everybody, thanks for being great to be here.
Yeah. Great to have you here. And then we also have Kristin Karst, who is owner and executive vice president of AmaWaterways. So welcome back here. I know we had her on here last year. Brought you back again.
Hello, Stephanie. Hello, everyone. It's so wonderful to be here, especially together with Vicki and John. Looking forward to this panel.
Yeah. It's going to be a little cruise industry party, I feel like, in here. It's going to be good. And then we also have Vicki Fried from Royal Caribbean, who's SVP Sales and Trade Support and Service at Royal Caribbean. And super pumped to have you on here, Vicki. I'm really excited.
Thank you, Stephanie. And hello, travel partners. It's great to be with you today, and also along with Kristin and John. So thanks very much for having me.
Yes. Yeah. And thank you all again for taking time out. Now, I know that before this, we kind of exchanged some questions, some topic ideas, things like that. So how we're going to let this flow is I'm going to start off with some questions. So it's really going to be conversational based, but feel free, all panelists, chime in whenever you want, or if you think of something you want to mention, please do that in here. So, okay. And we'll have about 60 minutes. So, hopefully we'll see where we get, and then we'll get into those Q&As if there's time as well. So, okay, here we go. Are we ready? Now for the first question. Okay, so the first question I want to start off with is the main question and the title of this webinar. So I figured we better start with that is what's the outlook for 2022 looking like? That's a very big question, but what is it looking like? And Kristin, I'm going to start with you. What's AmaWaterways looking like for 2022? And I know it's already started. So what has it been looking like and in the next few months?
Absolutely. Thank you, Stephanie. Our river cruise season starts actually that's in less than 2 months, and we are very optimistic about 2022, particularly from May onward. There are still a few people on the sidelines waiting to reserve their space, and we anticipate a huge influx of last-minute reservations. But there are also so many coming with their friends, their families, celebrations that they had to postpone, and now saying it's enough, we want to travel, we want to visit Europe again and all these beautiful countries. I mean, right now we are cruising in Egypt, our ship is full, and our first 3 charters will be on Magna, and they are all full. So we really hope that 2022 and all the years to come will be back on track and even better than before. And thank you for the support of all of you, because you help us filling our ships. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I know also before this, Vicki, you're headed on an AmaWaterways cruise soon.
I am next month. And so, I'll just pick up a little bit about what Kristin just mentioned. And I think that the confident traveler is traveling. The people who feel very secure in traveling and they're vaccinated, they've said enough is enough already. I've passed up on my vacation for the last year, maybe 2 years, and I'm going to live life again. And so there are people out there that want to take vacations, and especially cruises and river cruises. And, we see it in our own bookings. We see a lot of our loyal Crown and Anchor people, no matter what, they're cruising again because they know that as an industry and also as a brand, we have our protocols in place. So we are cruise, 100% are vaccinated. Almost all of them have had the booster shot. Anybody eligible for the booster has had it. So if they have been vaccinated and they're not quite yet eligible for that 3rd shot, they will be, and they will be, we do boosters once a week now across all of our ships. And so people are feeling really good about taking their vacations again and living life. And, I know I speak for the Royal brand, but I know this is true across the industry, is our net promoter scores, our NPS, they are at an all-time high, meaning the guest satisfaction is over the top. And the reason why is people are so happy to be vacationing again. The crew is so happy to serve the guests again. And it's a win-win across the board.
Yeah, that's awesome. And John, how about for you? What about Princess Cruises' outlook this year?
Yeah, I think I want to pick up on what Vicki said there, and then let me touch on the outlook. I think to her point about our net promoter score is absolutely true. We've always had very high satisfaction ratings, like all of us across the industry. And we know the value proposition of going on a cruise versus other options where you are spending a little more money, right? You just that freedom of going on a cruise and the value you get. I have, as I know Vicki and Kristin have, we do a lot of travel in our jobs and we stay at hotels. And I can't tell you, every hotel I've been to is telling me what they can't give me. The services are reduced, or this is, and you go on a cruise and that is not the case. It is all in, it's the great experience. It's never been better. And so for those clients of yours that are on the fence, listen, at the end of the day, they have to make their own decision and you can't force them to do, just because you believe in something. But what I've been so encouraged by have been the times I've spent with advisors on board. We did a hosted trip on Majestic Princess out of LA back in October, and then our new ship Enchanted Princess back in November. And the hundreds of people we had on board were coming up to me to say, this is my first trip, and I am so encouraged to see, I feel so safe, and the cleanliness standards you have, and knowing that everybody else is vaccinated, knowing they've been tested, makes me feel more secure to now tell my clients. And so that firsthand Pied Piper is important for all of you. So please get out there, do travel. But going back to your question on the outlook, yeah, I think if you'd have asked me that question last fall, I would have said, oh my God, 2022 is going to be this amazing year. We headed into the holidays with great booking trends, and then Omicron hit. Delta clearly didn't help either. And so we just continue to get these curveballs thrown at us, but the resilience of our brands, the industry as a whole, as well as our loyal fan base. And, you know, we as well at Princess have a very loyal following, and those people are those confident cruisers. But we're also seeing that there are still people new to cruise that are coming in and are experiencing it. So it's not like they're just going away, but we know they're a little harder sell. And so that's our collective challenge, I think, to reach to them and convince them that this is the right way to vacation.
Yeah. And that's actually a good point too. And I hate to bring in the O word Omicron question. But to just talk, I mean, I know that don't want to beat a dead horse here, but what have like each of your organizations been doing to deal with it? Like with travelers and advisors? And John, I'll just let you share that.
Yeah. Well, I think the standards that we have in place apply to any variant, right? The vaccines are applicable. Yes, you're more likely to get it. Thankfully, and you know, for many folks, it's not as harmful, but still having the vaccine does make you more resilient and less likely to be hospitalized. And so that is a good thing. So I wouldn't say our protocols have changed. I think it's a perception issue as much as anything. And the media doesn't help often. The irony for me was I was on a New Year's cruise with my family out of LA down to Mexico, went into the Sea of Cortez, had this wonderful time. And while we're on board, it was a 10-day cruise, all hell is breaking loose, pardon my French, with Omicron. And people are saying, oh my God, how could you be on a cruise right now? And I'm like, well, I wouldn't bring my family if I didn't feel safe. And the protocols we have are the most robust of any travel option. And so I feel very comfortable being out there. And so it was like a tale of two cities, experiencing the product during what was perceived as the sky is falling, when in fact it wasn't. And people were having a great time. And the demographic of people we had on board were older because most schools had gone back already. Our kids had a later start. And they were out having a wonderful time, dancing, drinking, experiencing the beauty of Mexican Riviera. And I'm sure Vicki and Kristin have similar stories that the sky is not falling. Don't believe everything you read.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. What about for you, Vicki and Kristin? I know I even noticed that too. I'm like, man, the media is just or it's just that you just go because you think a cruise ship, you're like on this place. And it's like, that's not the case. It's actually probably a lot of times more safer. So yeah. So how are you guys dealing with that? Vicki, I'll let you take off with that.
Well, I mean, as John said, all of us have very strict protocols in place. I mean, the fact that everybody on a royal ship 12 and older has to be vaccinated, and the fact that everybody has to have a test 2 days prior to the cruise, even if you're vaccinated, allows us to say we have a really safe environment on board. Omicron did not really affect us because of the fact that it's not, to John's point, it's not going to kill you. It's not going to put you in the hospital if you're vaccinated, very unlikely to put you in the hospital. People are now saying, you know what, I'm going to vacation and I'm going to travel and I'm going to stay healthy. And, certain protocols on board right now, like when you're indoors, we do ask that you wear a mask. Now, will that go away? Of course it'll go away. But for now, we're just trying to have the safest environment. Obviously, you take off your mask when you're having dinner. But if you're outdoors, you don't have to wear a mask. And when you're on our private island, Perfect Day at Coco Cay, you do not have to wear a mask unless you're going up to the food lines and things of that sort. So people are fine. People are enjoying the experience.
Yeah. And Kristin, what is it looking like on the river cruise front for that?
Well, when I look back to December was quite a month for us. It was supposed to be a wonderful, wonderful month again, booking-wise. Then came Omicron, but Omicron also didn't affect us so much. It was much more the lockdown in Austria. People would say, oh, if I cannot visit the Christmas markets, I just will postpone my cruise to the next season. And obviously, we were very sad when this happens, but we accommodated these requests. But as AmaWaterways, we decided we cruise to New Year's Eve because there were enough guests who really wanted to go and just enjoy the cruise experience. And if we couldn't get out in Vienna, then actually we cruised to Bratislava in Slovakia and took a deluxe motor coach back to Vienna. That's only 1 hour, of driving. And we gave everyone a most wonderful Christmas market experience. So you just had to be a little bit creative. And we also wanted to cruise through because we felt our crew was so happy to be employed. was so happy to have a Christmas, and all the guests on board who came, it was a smaller crowd, but they were all so loyal and said, you know, AmaWaterways, we will all come back again. We had the most wonderful cruise experience. They all became friends and family. No COVID case on board. You know, we had tests, you know, we were all very careful. The mask, of course, similar to what Vicki said, you would sit down, you could take your mask off. We would be dancing with the mask, of course, because it wasn't like a summertime. In summer, you can do everything outdoors, but all the guests who came.
Oh, we lost her. She's traveling right now, so she might be going in and out. Let's see. Well, if she comes back in, we'll let her continue on there. But yeah, unfortunately, Christina's traveling, which is the fun thing to be doing. So it's really great. But one thing, so actually, I wasn't going to get to this question yet, but it works right now, and John, thank you for suggesting this topic here, is because I do want to talk about it. The cruise industry is held to such a different standard than other vacation options. And so that's what you've been talking about. And how can, though, travel advisors, when they're trying to sell, I mean, it's just, you know, how can they combat this, and how can they help, you know, their travelers feel safe, or what are some resources, things like that?
Yeah, it's often you're not talking about health and safety when it comes to any sort of vacation. That's like the last thing you normally want to talk about. You want to talk about the exciting destination. You want to talk about the great ship, the food, the service, the entertainment, whatever it is. And so we're kind of all learning how to frame this conversation, you with your clients, us with you, and trying to give you the information to empower you to feel like you can have as detailed a conversation as your clients want to have. But I think the basic premise, and when I talk to people that I meet that hear from me and they think, oh, are you guys still in business? Are you guys cruising? Like, they just don't know. Like, they've read one channel of news and they think, like, you know, it's all over. And then you kind of explain to them, and I say, well, if you were to go to Las Vegas or Orlando or go to a resort, do you think they report to the CDC any of their health protocols, or should somebody get sick, do you think that's transparent? And the answer is no, they don't. And so the lack of information hides what might be going on. I'm not saying there's bad things going on, but you just don't know. And even if you look at pre-pandemic, before, you know, and back in the good old days when the worst thing we had to worry about was a norovirus outbreak, people thought cruise ships is where norovirus existed. Well, the reality is you're 750 times more likely to get norovirus on land than you are on a cruise ship. But the problem is there's only 3 organizations that report their health protocols to the CDC: hospitals, nursing homes, and cruise ships. So that transparency can often make it hard to convince people that you are as safe as we know we are. And I think it's just about framing the conversation to be that cruising is actually safer than you realize. They're the most transparent of any vacation option out there. And because of that, you should actually feel safer and know that if something should happen, they are well positioned from an isolation standpoint, communication, testing. The medical facilities on board our ships are phenomenal. And so it's really just about helping educate your clients if they do have those fears. And so that's not an easy conversation to have. And I'm you know, it's not like you can solve it in 4 words, but I just think information is there and it's powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Stephanie, if I can just pick up a little bit on
what please.
Said, this is why the value of a travel advisor becomes even more important in today's world. You're needed as a travel advisor more now than you've ever been needed, because you're the expert who can guide the consumer with the right information. And to John's point, and I know Kristin has this, we all have somewhere on our travel agent portal, our travel advisor portal, and our website. For us, it's on Cruising Power, a healthy cruising hub. Get the information there for your clients and make sure that you're able to articulate what they need to know in case something happens. And that way it'll give them the confidence to feel like, okay, I'm good. And you know what? You've added value to this experience for me.
Yep, that's a good point. And yes, the value of a travel agent is just been very much highlighted in the past couple of years, big time. And Kristin, and sorry we lost you there. But we were talking about basically kind of going off of what we were talking about earlier with just how the cruise industry is held at a different standard compared to other vacation options. So how can travel advisors, help combat that and make their travelers feel at ease?
Well, yeah, I can only say the same, seeing is believing, right? And we all offer travel advisor rates, and we make it very, very easy to come to experience all our cruises right now. That is step number one, not just to experience the product, but really the protocols that we all have. What is if, in the situation, all the backup situations. I mean, we have an office, not just in California, but also in Basel in Switzerland. And there we have just 2 team members assigned to what if, to be then in touch with them, to take care of people, to see, how often do they have to get tested, to get them back to the United States or to Canada, to really deliver them pizza if needed, a bottle of wine if needed. But most important, the moral support, to talk to them all the time, because empathy in these times is the most important factor. We all know it is not so dangerous anymore, especially everyone is vaccinated, most got their booster shot, right? So when it happens, then it just happens, and we just work with the situation. And I know that so many guests today say, well, if it happens, I am in a country and then I know the company takes care of me. Many people work from home right now, from a remote office environment. They can still work from, these places in case they get stuck. And this is actually how I personally also approach it. I am traveling a lot. I'm right now traveling. That's why, so sorry, my internet is not stable here. But, I just say, if it would happen, then I would know how to deal with it. And I think that is the most important part, that our guests know we take care of them 100%. And I can also say, a cruise manager on a river cruise ship, you're pretty much in one hand 24/7 between the pre-land, the cruise, and the post-land, if you decide to book everything. And also all these changing protocols from country to country in Europe. We know that they will align the protocols very soon. Europe will become just really one continent. They are working on it. We can expect very good news coming soon. But the cruise manager really is helping every guest to go through the paperwork, to really make sure that there is no anxiety, that yes, I can do this with the QR code, right? I can fill this out. There is nothing I have to worry about this, because I think we want to ensure it's a seamless vacation, worry-free. We all go and enjoy and should not have anything else on our mind.
Mm-hmm. Amen to that. Perfect. Yes. I love that. And now to talk about, okay, so with the Omicron, let's get into the positive outlook, because there's so much. I know, like in the chat, a lot of people are talking about cruises they've just been on, and the bookings that they're making, and all this. So there's a ton of great things, and I really want to hone in though on trends. Are there any special trends or certain trends that any of you are seeing? I'll just let Vicki. I'll let you go first here on that. What types of trends is Royal Caribbean seeing?
So we're seeing, and we've seen this before COVID, a lot of families are getting together. People are just saying, I missed seeing my family, my relatives, my good friends. And so we're traveling as a group so that we can reconnect with one another. Because although, we can do these webinars, and they work, but they don't have the same effect as meeting face to face and being together as individuals, as humans. And we all as humans need that human connection. So we're seeing a lot of families, a lot of groups of friends and family, and celebrations. I think John or Kristin mentioned that people who postponed weddings and now are getting married want to take a honeymoon. So we're seeing a lot of anniversaries and celebrations.
Yeah, I've heard that one. Yeah, and I think, John, you mentioned multi-generational too.
Yeah, I mean, it's been very popular, and we actually just created a new group program called the Celebration Group Program that's just for people that know each other. And it's starting with 5 cabins on up, you get a chance to make up for that lost time. And I think that is definitely one of the trends we're seeing, is that people do want to reconnect, reclaim what they lost, right? And so I think the people that are those confident cruisers that Vicki mentioned earlier are actually cruising more frequently. I can't tell you how many stories I've had of people that are saying, oh, we're taking multiple trips this year because they see they've been out there, they've experienced it, they trust in it, they're just so happy to be back, and they're making up for lost time. And I think as an industry, when you look at the demand we have for world cruises is off the charts. And I think I made this comment earlier that for an industry that some might think is going away, if you can sell out a world cruise, you're not going away anytime soon. The demand for that type of trip takes a huge commitment of time and money. I know Vicki's had great success selling her a monster world cruise coming up, 270 something days. We've had great success. People that unfortunately have to cancel, at the end of the day, those people aren't in their 20s, and they probably realize they only have so many years left to cruise and get out there. And by God, they're going to do it. And that commitment to it is just such a great affirmation of what we all do for a living. And so that's really encouraging.
Mm-hmm. And if I can add to this, we are also seeing a trend to going longer, because you fly mostly, of course, we cruise in Europe, we will cruise in Asia, we cruise in Africa, but people just go and take back-to-back cruises. That wasn't so much the case before. Yeah. So they fly, they're 10, 12 hours, and then they go from one cruise ship to the next. This actually has led us last year to this new idea of a 7-river journey. You probably all have heard about this. 7 rivers, 46 days. The first one in summer 2023 sold out within 2 weeks. We barely got any cancellation. We have right now 2 staterooms left. So we created the next one in spring, and there we have 9 staterooms left. And so cruise number 3 came in fall, and fall is usually the peak river cruise season in Europe, September, October. Think about the fall colors, the vineyards in their bright red, orange colors, and it's very mild. There is no overcrowded tourism there. You're just there with the locals. And now you can explore, from France, from the 3 rivers in France, the Seine, the Rhone, Bordeaux, you go to Basel, you join a Rhine River cruise, you go to Amsterdam, you cruise maybe Holland and Belgium, then you come down again into the Main, to the Danube, you're cruising the upper Danube down the lower Danube. And that's not all what we can offer you. So, and also to John's point, yes, of course, many clients feel they had to stop for a year or maybe 2. They don't know what's coming tomorrow. You have to live today. And I think that is so important. And we also see our clients buy from the top. It has never been as strong than now, because your clients, our guests, have accumulated a lot of money. They haven't spent the money. They don't want to compromise. They want to live it now. And so they want to spend it now. And that's a great chance for our travel advisors to earn these commissions with 1 or several commas.
That is a very good trend. That's a good one there. And how about for data? Is there any data that any of you can share that of that's just really highlighting some of these trends, or that we really are going in the right direction? Like I've heard, I should have wrote it down, the specific, but just there's a very high percentage that are people who have cruised before going, but then there's a new chunk really coming in too. So I don't know if any of you have any.
Yeah, I was mentioning earlier that we have definitely seen the slight shift of more loyal guests are cruising right now, but the new cruise hasn't just dropped off, right? It's a minor drop. And I think that is a great, positive point to make, that it's not like we can only rely on people who've cruised before. And so, but I will say as a trend, I think a lot of us have, the industry's opened up cruising much farther into the future, and our booking trends, not just for 22, and 22 is definitely strong. And I think the summer, especially when the Princess in Alaska, Princess in Europe is our 2 big markets at that time, is very positive. but even in 23, and then our 24 world cruise is open. So those future trends are incredibly positive. I also know as a travel advisor, you make your money when people are cruising or close to cruising and final payment is made. And so we need to get cruisers now. So it's not just, we can't kick this down kick this can down the curb till 23. I'm not saying that at all, but I do think the frequency is very important, those people that are going to cruise again. And, I learned from Vicki, and I didn't say it at the beginning, I just love being on panels with Vicki and Kristin because their passion, their smarts. I'm so lucky to have such nice people to work alongside, even though we're competitors. It's very friendly competition and we're all in this together, and it's always a pleasure to see them. And I'm used to seeing more of them in person than even my own family because we all travel so much and attend various conferences. But Vicki always likes to say, every time somebody calls you to make a booking, you should always say, is there somebody you'd like to bring with you? And now it's, are there 20 people you'd like to bring with you? So the numbers, I think the number game is there, and it's for the taking.
Yeah, and I'll just thank you, John. And I always love being on panels with you. You are so much fun. But I have to tell you, I know you cheated on this panel because you were on a panel right before and a travel partner, she texted me.
Yeah.
Was it she? And she said, you're doing a great job on the panel. I like his personality. This is the kind of guy I'm attracted to. Great personality, would never bore me. It's not always about the looks. I still think you're great looking, but
my
oh
bobblehead
my gosh, look at that.
is agreeing.
Awesome.
I have a face for radio.
You paid that bobblehead.
And a voice as well.
Yes. So thank you. But anyhow, we are really friendly competitors, and we're as colleagues, we all root for one another because as one brand goes, all of us go. And so to answer your question, Stephanie, about new to cruise and what are the trends, I will tell you that we have a lot of short cruises, and we just started cruising out of Los Angeles. We decided we wanted to come and keep Princess company on the short cruises. And so we have 3 and 4 day cruises on the Navigator of the Seas. And they started just in November of last year. What we're seeing is on our short cruises, particularly, you're getting a lot of first timers. And I think you're getting a lot of first timers because it's a small investment of time. But if you look at the prices right now, what we're selling these cruises for, they are so reasonable. You can go on a 3-night cruise for less money than 1 night at a moderate hotel. And you get all your food and entertainment included. So now is the time to encourage people who have maybe been on the fence about taking a cruise to try cruising, because the value proposition is never going to get better. It is the best it's ever going to be. Right, John?
Absolutely. 100%.
What about John's bobblehead? Does he agree?
He just passed out. He's had, he was overserved, so he's out. Wake up.
Well, maybe I can share a fun and success story regarding groups.
Yes.
We had one of our very loyal travel advisors. She was born in Holland and lives in Canada. And she had just visited her family and was in port in Amsterdam. And she saw our ship, the new AmaWaterways, in port. And there was Rudy, because it was supposed to be the cushioning cruise of the AmaWaterways, but this cushioning is moved to next year. But he was on board anyway. And of course, the two know each other. She said, "Oh, that's so great, you are here." And he said, "Absolutely, I'm cruising the Rhine to Basel." And she said, "Oh, that sounds so great." Rudy said, "Do you want to come along with us?" Well, the ship was, of course, not 100% full in this time. We have space. And he said, "Well, let me think about it." "No, actually, I shouldn't think about it. Let me go home, to my mom. Her mom lives still in Holland, in Amsterdam. I will pack my suitcase and I will come on the ship and cruise with you." So she had a wonderful time. She was biking, she was hiking. She's such a very, very active person. She has now, for August 23, 1 year later, already a group of 38 guests booked, because she was so excited about the opportunity to cruise. Just, it wasn't planned. It was just, yeah, let's do it. And she had the pleasure to cruise with Rudy, obviously, with the best man in the company, and 38 guests now booked. And I call this really a success story. And everyone can do it, right?
Awesome.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. How about for John and Vicki, any success stories to share?
Well, I think it's that firsthand experience that I talked to so many advisors on board saying that because they were out there, they were able to convince their clients back home that it was okay to travel. And it's that getting out there and realizing how safe, how fun it is. I've just heard so many positive elements of I'm on my phone and I love your medallion net and I'm able to book the business while I'm here. And so, you know, if you work from home, you can work from home, you can work from a cruise ship. So, I mean, you have options to get out there. And I just think those are so encouraging. And like I said, the groups are really picking up as well, and people taking advantage of that for sure.
And you know what we see right now, interesting enough, is we're signing a lot of full ship charters from different groups. In this last week, we signed 2. And you know, when you're buying the full ship, you're paying for the entire ship in advance. And we just had a full ship charter of 5,000 people on an Oasis class 2 weeks ago. They had an amazing time, and so people are buying cruises. And I'll tell you, I just want to pick up on what John said. You know, with the Wi-Fi, Royal Caribbean, we have Boom, the fastest I was going to say Zoom, but it's Boom, the fastest Wi-Fi at sea. And we find that people do come on board and they are able to work. And what we learned through this whole pandemic is that people can work remotely. And some of you who've joined my coffee talks, that may have heard me talk about Daniel. He's 30 years old. I actually just had lunch with him a couple of weeks ago with Lolly, and he lives here in Miami, but he hardly lives here because he really lives on our ships. He's on our ships about 40 weeks a year. Wow. And he's an accountant, he's in the financial fields, and he does his work from our ships using Zoom, and he says it works perfectly. And so here you have a 30-year-old guy who, by the way, is single and is looking for a girlfriend. He told me that. And so I've got to hunt out for him. But here he is able to really travel the world. And now he's just traveling the Caribbean. But he is able to do his job using the Wi-Fi. And I think you're going to see more and more of that. I know that on our world cruise, what did you call it? The Monster World Cruise of World Cruises, John? And it is 274 days. We have a lot of families coming on board with children. So we have this one gal who used to work for us who left us and opened up an Amazon delivery business, which I think was a very smart move at the time, because as we all know, during the pandemic, Amazon delivery did very well. She's got twins who are 8 years old, and she's going to, when they're on board, homeschool them and then give them the opportunity to see the world. So they'll be 10 years old by then. And, you know, what a great way to get educated and see the world in a unique way that's going to be valuable for their entire life.
Wow, that is so cool. That is very cool. And also, I'm now going to propose, Travify, that we should just relocate to cruise ships and work there, because we can do that. But I have to say too, there's a chat that came in a little earlier, but it's so cool. Someone on said, my husband and I have been on 8 cruises since the end of June 2021. How amazing. That is cool. That is really great. But before we get in, because we're going to have time, I think there's been so many questions coming in, so I definitely want to get to some of those. But before I do, though, are there any final thoughts that any of you want to share that maybe we didn't touch on?
I mean, I'll just jump in, and then I'm sorry, I don't want to hog this. I just want to say thank you. I want to thank the trade for the patience that you've given the industry and for the last couple of years. We know you guys have had a hard time. We know that, you know, there's been bookings, cancellations, rebookings, FCCs, and everything else, and yet you've hung in there. And we hope that you see that as an industry, we've treated you right by paying commission on canceled bookings. We will continue to support the trade because all of us need your support. The reason we need your support is you do an excellent job at really articulating the value proposition to the consumer about what cruising and river cruising really is all about. And they need someone like you who is that value interpreter that is going to guide them into making the right buying decision. So a very sincere thank you to each and every one of you for sticking with us, because we're going to come out of this together, and together we're going to be stronger, and people are going to want vacations, they're going to need vacations, and we're all going to have great years ahead of us.
Yeah, you know, of course, our P's, I always say our 4 or 5 P's, there are so many partnerships, positivity, right, passion. There's so much more, but I want to join Vicki in saying thank you. And I want to give you some inspiration as well. You know, AmaWaterways turns 20 years old this year. When you look back 20 years ago, we founded the company right after 9/11. It was probably, you will say, the worst time to found a company. And it wasn't so easy the first 2 years. Nobody wanted to travel. Everyone was very fearful. Then came SARS, the SARS before COVID. Then came the war with Iraq. But we fought it through, and so did many of you. And then came all the pent-up demand. And the pent-up demand really made sure that the cruise business and the river cruise business was exploding. And that's what we feel once we are going through this. And everyone says we see a light at the end of the tunnel. I always say, and Rudy is teasing me, a light at the end of the jungle, because you had to navigate kind of through a jungle of so many different things. There will be an explosion of demand, so much. So let's get all prepared. You know, all three of us are your partners. The way you have supported us, we are always supporting you. Partnerships become friendships so often over all these years. And we just look forward to a wonderful, bright future with all of you. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'll just echo thanks and appreciation. We certainly couldn't do this without you. And for those that are still vibrant and hanging in, and I just can't, you know, it's such an impressive thing for us to see as how you have survived this. We've all gone through tough times, but here you are, and we thank you. And I would just say, I would even say this before the pandemic, just continue to be present in the minds of your clients and reaching out to them, telling great stories, sharing stories. If you haven't personally traveled, clearly I recommend you do personally travel and be that Pied Piper, and maybe think outside the box for how your model is. If you have not in the past hosted groups on board, host a small group and see how it goes. And the power of that networking can't be overstated, because you will build your client base. And what better way to tell the story of cruising than doing it from a cruise? So stay positive, stay healthy, and thank you all so much.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I love, everyone's appreciative, loving all the motivation and positivity, you know, and that's kind of what we want to do, because you just need it when you go through the daily grind, you know, all that time. And I love that, the light at the end of the jungle. You got to get through some vines, and then it's there. You can see it. So it's really great. And I want to get into some questions here. So feel free, everyone, to use that question box and put those in there. But one here from Phil. So he said, in the beginning of COVID pandemic, and this is for the whole panel too, but at the beginning of COVID pandemic, many cruise ships or vehicles were kept away from ports of various nations. What differences in port requirements and different nation rules are most affecting the industry? So I'll just let one of you take it.
I can say that I think it's really about having the relations with the port officials and authorities, and we are very open and have great relations built. And you know, I think again that transparency is critical for not just the protocols on board, but what are we going to do if somebody does test positive? What does that mean? How do we isolate them? What are the protocols for, if necessary, treating them medically on board with the great doctors and nurses that we have, as well as how do we take care of them once they, maybe they have to be landed and flown home and dealt, you know, so all those protocols, it's more about agreeing ahead of time what you're going to do, so that it's not the fear of, there's no plan, what are we going to do? Just don't let them in. There's a clear plan and clear protocols in place, which makes it so much easier.
The beauty of a river cruise is that we are on national waters, pretty much on inland waterways, right? So the ports, again, every day is a sea day, but sea day SEE, we see the land from all the sides. The ports will always take the ships in. There was never a port that would refuse a river cruise ship for this reason, that there was a COVID case also on board. Obviously, it always depends on also the number of the cases. And then if really, and there were a few ships, but really just a few percentages who had more cases, well, then they would be isolated, you know, along the river, and would have to be quarantined. But other than this, our guests We were able to operate our shore excursions in every port the very regular way. If a port had to close down to any river cruise line, it was because the country had a regulation or restriction to say you cannot come to, let's say, the Netherlands. And that has happened. And this happened for a week. And then after the week, it was reversed again. And then everyone could cruise again to Amsterdam. So, but there was not really much happening except of a few weeks of, you know, closure of the country or lockdown of the country. But again, I don't foresee this to happen anymore in the future. I know that Denmark yesterday released all COVID restrictions. There are no more, there is nothing anymore. It says Sweden and Norway will follow very, very soon. And so I don't have any worries about really itinerary changes, drastically itinerary changes, you know, in order to accommodate these things. Again, 2 years were enough for everyone.
Yeah, and I'll just echo, I agree with what both of my colleagues have said. And I see that Lily West, who's a fan of our industry, she said, what happens if somebody tests positive? And if it's pre-cruise, we obviously want them to cancel. We'll give them a future cruise credit. If it's during the cruise, we have all the medical facilities on board to help them and make it really a very actually nice experience. If we have to get them off at a particular port of call, our policy has been to fly people home on private jets at our expense. So that is the Royal Caribbean Group's protocol. And so, you know, some people are like, oh, wow, I get to go home on a private jet. Yeah. It rarely happens now that someone's testing positive on board. But if that happens, we take care of your clients, our guests, 100%.
Yeah, that's pretty incredible. It's really cool.
And just to add this, because I see the question also in the chat box here, what if it's done once the positive test comes? So last year on the Danube, we had one ship actually just dedicated in case it happens. And the positive test comes through, no matter if it was a guest or a crew member, to really be taken to that ship. And then, you know, they were there as long as they would test positive. Of course, we had our galley on board, you know, they got their food, they got their drinks, they got everything, had a beautiful stateroom with fresh air, and could probably work from there, read a lot of good books. And then, of course, there would be testing. And once the negative test came in, they were ready to fly back.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great. And I have another question here for you. And this is a really good one of just from Anthony is, what suggestion do you have for working with business development managers, BDMs, and connecting them with our clients? Because I know that's been a big thing, is working with your suppliers. And that's one of the great reasons why we have this panel today. So what are some ways that, you know, travel advisors should be working with them and using them?
So if I can, I always worry that my internet is going down again. So
I know.
If I can raise my hand and get started here. So what I felt was very effective in these past 2 years, were all the virtual cruise nights, sip and sail hours, our BDMs connected with you, no matter in what territory, and sometimes across the territories, because we were all online with each other. It didn't matter in which part of the world you were. And then it was you, the travel advisor, you would invite all your loyal clients to a virtual you know, presentation about the cruise, about the protocols, about how we handle situations. And then our BDM would, together with you, our travel advisor, host this virtual cruise night and talk about everything, would, you know, all the Q's and A's, anything. And I'm very proud to say we had more than 4,600 virtual webinars and cruise nights during this time. And actually, I can say many groups came out of it. It was a wonderful way to build trust. The trust is already there from your client to you, our travel advisor partner. But now you brought us as a supplier into this, and to see each other, our faces online, to listen to what we say, creates the trust, right? And then, of course, we hopefully can achieve, no matter if it's a group booking or a charter, a part charter, or a regular FIT booking. We can do this together. And as John said, have you, your client, as the most loyal guest for all the years to come.
As far as this, what's the role of the strategic account manager or the BDM? For Royal Caribbean, we have the largest sales team serving travel advisors, and that's because we rely heavily on travel advisors to source our business. And we did keep everybody employed, and we're hiring right now for a few cities. So our goal is to serve you and serve you in the way in which you want to be served. So if you want to do things over Wi-Fi and over the phone, we can do that. If you want to meet in a coffee shop, we can do that. Whatever is comfortable for you, but we want to help you build your business. I've been looking at the chat too, and I see some of you are brand new in the business. And so for those of you who are brand new, you have a different concern. Some people who have been experienced and have a clientele already in place. So if you need to know how to build your client base, our strategic account managers can help you with that. If you want to do an armchair travel night or a virtual webinar, we can help you with that. We just want to help you become successful. So call on our people. We want to be there to support you in whatever ways you need support.
Yeah, and I think the power of building relationships should never be overlooked. And I think when you look at connecting with your BDM, build a relationship with them, and whether it's virtual or a coffee shop, whatever it is, connect with them. And don't just come to them to say, how do I grow my business? Come to them with a plan and let them help you craft it and tweak it. And if you come and say, I'm either new or I'm experienced, and I booked this many guests today, and I'm hoping to book this many tomorrow. Here's how many groups I book. Here's how many I want to book. Come with an idea and think it through and present that with them and have them work with you on that to make it even better. I think that's the best way you A, build a relationship, but B, get their expertise on how you can actually improve your business model by presenting them, hey, here's a plan. And you know what? You can start over again or tweak it or what, it depends on how good it is. But I think just getting that feedback is super important.
Yeah, utilizing BDMs is huge and can really help be that person you need, that help, so really cool. One question that I want to make sure I'd ask, because we have a lot of them and it's going to be a hot topic question, is where was it? Let me see here. Okay, so a lot of people are saying we still have many passengers who will just refuse the vaccine. So do any of you see a time in 2022 where you remove vaccine requirements, or do you think this is a permanent aspect of cruising going forward?
Let me get my crystal ball. Hold on. I have it right over here.
Like, what's going to happen?
It's a hard one. I think for the foreseeable future, it's going to be in place for a little while. I don't see it going away anytime soon, but that's just my personal guess. But we'll have to wait it out and see. And hopefully, as more and more people do get vaccinated, they're willing to travel and you can take advantage of that. But we definitely hear you, and we'll have to keep a close eye on it.
Yeah. None of us have that crystal ball. I agree with John. I think for the foreseeable future, we are going to require vaccinations. I see that somebody does want a question answered, that she has somebody who's a cancer patient and cannot get vaccinated. In a situation like that, and they don't want to sail with us and they have a future cruise credit, we would be happy to give them back their money. We don't want people to feel like we're holding them hostage. If there's a reason why they don't want to get vaccinated, we respect that and we will refund them their money.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's the same. I would join, of course, both Vicki and John. I wish that, it would be only 2022 where we have this transition year, maybe, that the vaccine is required, but we don't know. We don't know what the procedure will be in the future. So in the meantime, we can only say if you are not vaccinated, of course, it's hard then also to travel to Europe because there is not much you can do anymore in these days. It's not just the cruise line, right? But you're not allowed then to go to any museum anymore, not to any restaurant anymore. In some cases, you might not be able to enter the country, right? So it really is very, very hard. But hopefully things get better in the future for everyone.
Mm-hmm. Yep, we will rebound and everything will just When we'll see, but everything, I mean, still looking really good. And on that, the last question that I want to end on is for all of you, what is the next cruise you're going on? When's your next one? The next sailing time?
I'm back to back on AMA next month, as we said at the start of the show. And so I'm excited to go on AMA's new ship, the AMA Magna, their largest ship, the double wide, as you call it, Kristin. And I'm super excited to be sailing with you and with a lot of travel advisors. So looking forward to the trip.
Awesome.
Absolutely. And this will be my next cruise as well, starting actually March 6th already, the week before. We have a couple of travel industry charters on board the AMA Magna. And of course, it's then culminating into the ASTA President's Charter after the Global River Cruise Expo in Budapest. And looking very much forward, Vicki, to welcoming you and all the travel advisors that will be on this cruise. And John, where are you? We still maybe have a little bit of a crew member cabin available for you. So
it would be great.
We will treat you well, for sure.
I drink and eat a lot, so you better reforecast for that cruise. But, you know, it's funny, since last June when we set sail again, I've been on 5 cruises, 2 vacation, 3 work. And I have another work one coming up on our new Discovery Princess in end of March. I'm trying to keep track of the schedule, and family and I are still kicking around summer. We're not really sure what we're going to do, but we have plenty of options, and I imagine a cruise will be in the future for us. And I'm just so excited. I'm very spoiled to have been on so many cruises over the last 6-7 months.
Yeah, that's awesome. What a cool opportunity too, you know, right now, especially just with the changes. And one thing with destinations, sometimes they might not be as busy as they normally are. So it's kind of a cool time. And there's so many too that are going on in the chat. There's tons of them. So exciting time, really. So it's really lots of great stuff. And I just want to thank everybody so much again. Our panelists, you are amazing. We kept saying VIP panel, and that is correct. So we are so thankful and grateful that you were able to spend time with us, and everyone on here as well. Thank you so much. And again, we'll get this recording on YouTube as well. And feel free to email us at academy@travify.com if you have any questions that didn't get answered, and we can help get those for you. But thank you so much again, panelists, and thank you, audience. And here's to Wave Season 2022. Woo!
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Oh, the bobblehead.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
See you soon.